Eve was recently announced as the latest addition to Identity V's crossover lineup, making it the second RPG Maker horror game to join the IDV universe after Angels of Death. But if we look at the RPG Maker horror genre as a whole, there are plenty of other games that could fit right in. Many of them have amazing stories, lovable characters, and, most importantly, huge fan bases. I'm sure plenty of IDV players would love to see more RPG Maker horror crossovers in the future. With how popular some of these games are, the possibility of more crossovers is definitely there. It makes me, and probably a lot of other fans, wonder. After Angels of Death and Ebe, which RPG Maker horror game would be the perfect next crossover for IDV? Today, let's take a look at 10 RPG Maker horror games that would make an awesome crossover with Identity V. Just a heads up, this list is based on my personal picks, so if you have different ideas, feel free to share them. This is your broadcaster, Silmina, signing in. Imagine stepping into a house that really doesn't want you there. In the witch's house, you play as Viola, a young girl who stumbles upon a creepy, abandoned mansion while searching for her friend. But this isn't just any old haunted house. It's alive, filled with deadly traps, shifting rooms, and a witch named Ellen who seems to be behind it all. At first, it feels like a regular horror game with puzzles and jump scares. But the deeper you go, the more you realize there's a heartbreaking story beneath all the terror. Ellen isn't just some evil witch. She has a dark past, and the house reflects that. Every deadly trick, every unsettling moment is tied to something much deeper. Still, the final twist is a gut punch, and I guarantee you that the true ending of the game will completely changing how you see everything. In this game, there are two main characters, Viola and Ellen. Based on their looks, I think Viola would make a great Anne Lester. Both have blonde, double-braided hair, and they share a similar vibe. Plus, Viola and Anne are both described as incredibly kind, as we saw in the 2023 Valentine event. Then, there's Ellen. Her mysterious backstory and personality would fit perfectly with Galatea. Both characters are dealing with illness, and both have a darker, more complex side to them. Personally, I think this would be an amazing crossover for Identity V. It could even rival the IB crossover in terms of creativity and popularity. Aya Drevis thinks her life is perfect. She loves her father, and he seems like a kind and caring man. But when night comes, everything changes. Her peaceful home turns into a terrifying place filled with ghosts and monsters. Eventually, she learns the shocking truth. Her father is a scientist, but not the good kind. He's been secretly doing horrible experiments, and now his dark past is coming back to haunt both of them. This game is popular because it explores themes of love and obsession. It makes you think about how the people we trust the most might actually be the most dangerous. Players get drawn into Aya's struggle as she tries to balance her love for her father with the terrifying things she discovers about him. As the game goes on, she uncovers more secrets, making it harder for her to ignore the truth about who her father really is. The game has two main characters, Aya Drevis, a young girl who lives with her father and their maid, Maria. Since Aya is a little girl, it makes sense for her to be represented by a child character in the game. But if we're talking about her deeper hidden nature, which is revealed in the true ending, Galatea could also be a good fit to play her. As for Aya's father, Alfred Drevis, Orpheus might be the best match, because both characters have a two-faced, deceptive nature. For Maria, the maid, Chi Shiyi, or Martha Behamphil could work well since Maria is skilled in self-defense, just like them. Misao takes place in a high school, but this isn't your usual classroom drama. Aki, the main character, wakes up to find the school cursed and filled with vengeful ghosts. The reason? Misao, a girl who was bullied and mysteriously vanished, is at the center of it all. The game goes beyond horror. It highlights the long-lasting effects of bullying, showing how cruelty can leave deep scars. The school itself has transformed into a nightmare that reflects Misao's suffering, and Aki must navigate through the horror to uncover the truth. The main character of the game, Aki Narukami, is a teenager with her hair tied in twin tails. Because of her look, I think she'd be best represented by Lily, the cheerleader. However, it's hard to connect Aki and Lily through their stories because Misao's plot is so complex. It's not even clear if Aki is a good or evil character, as it's up to the players to decide it, which makes it tricky to match her with someone lore-wise. Another character to include in the crossover is Misao, the game's antagonist. Misao is a girl who faced severe bullying at school, and her pain turned the school into a cursed place, which is the same place Aki and her classmates are trapped in. Since Misao's story revolves around seeking justice, characters like Chi-Shi might be a good fit to portray her. Alternatively, if we consider the darker side of her story, hunters like the Bloody Queen or Naiad could also represent her well, given their tragic and vengeful themes. In Yume Nikki, you play as Madotsuki, a girl who never leaves her room. Instead, she explores her dreams, which aren't the usual fluffy, fun dreams. These are surreal, often disturbing, and filled with strange imagery. This game is unique because, unlike any other RPG Maker horror game, there's no clear objective, no dialogue, just you wandering through unsettling landscapes, encountering bizarre creatures, and collecting strange items. The game doesn't tell you what anything means, you're left to interpret it yourself. That's what makes it so haunting. It feels like stepping into someone's subconscious and trying to piece together their hidden fears and emotions. This game is really unique and mysterious, so it's hard to figure out who should get the crossover skin. The only major character in the game is Madotsuki, and she's pretty much the sole focus. What makes it even trickier is that there's no clear canon story for her, since everything happens in her dreams, and those can be interpreted in many different ways. But since Madotsuki looks like a little girl, or at least seems to be one, it makes sense for the little girl character to be the one to portray her. She's the closest match in terms of appearance and vibe. Corpse Party is a dark and creepy horror game about a group of students from Kisaragi Academy. They perform a harmless-looking ritual called Sachiko Ever After as a goodbye for a classmate who's leaving. But things go terribly wrong, and they end up trapped in a cursed elementary school called Heavenly Host. The game follows the students as they try to survive and escape the haunted school. Along the way, they meet the vengeful spirits of murdered children and uncover the tragic history behind the school's curse. The story of Corpse Party gives us plenty of characters that could be represented by Identity 5 characters. For example, Yuya Kizami could be played by the Batter, since they have similar personalities. Satoshi Mochida and Yuka Mochida, the siblings, could be represented by the novelist and the little girl, even though they aren't siblings in Identity 5. Then, there's Ayumi Shinozaki, who might fit Ann Lester, and Seiko Shinohara could be the cheerleader. For the main antagonist, Sachiko Shinozaki, the Dream Witch would be a great choice. There are other characters like Naomi Nakashima and Yoshiki Kishinuma, but the real question is whether this crossover could even happen. Personally, I think it would be amazing, but Corpse Party is known for being extremely gory. Since NetEase has to follow Chinese government laws, which restrict overly violent or graphic content, it's unlikely this crossover would ever make it into the game. Still, it's fun to imagine how it could work. At first, Mermaid Swamp seems like a classic horror story. 4 friends' car breaks down near a strange village, forcing them to take shelter there. But things quickly get creepy when they hear about a local legend involving a mermaid. Unlike the beautiful mermaids from fairy tales, this one is connected to something much darker. The villagers take their superstitions way too far, and their obsession with the mermaid legend has led to terrible outcomes. In the game, you play as Rin Yamazaki, one of the 4 friends. Your goal is to uncover the secrets hidden in the swamp and learn how blind belief and greed can lead to disaster. In short, Mermaid Swamp is a chilling tale about how myths can become dangerous when people are willing to do anything to keep them alive. The main character, Rin Yamazaki, is a cheerful girl with long blonde hair. If I had to pick someone to represent her, it would be the alternate version of the journalist. But if we're talking about her personality and story, the gardener, Emma Woods, could also be a good fit. As for the other 3 friends, Yuta, Saitaro, and Yuka, they could be played by Richard, Naib, and Evelyn, respectively, since they share similar looks and personalities. The Forest of Drizzling Rain is made by the same creator who made Angels of Death, so I would personally want this stuff to happen in the crossover. The story revolves around Shiori Kanzaki, a young woman who travels to the remote village of Azakawa in search of her missing parents. The village, shrouded in a perpetual drizzle and steeped in local folklore, holds dark secrets that Shiori is determined to uncover. As Shiori explores Azakawa, she discovers that the village is haunted by a local legend of a powerful spirit residing in the nearby forest. The villagers hold a deep reverence for this spirit, and their lives are intertwined with its presence. Along with the help of a local named Suga, she learns that her parents were researching this legend, and their disappearance is likely connected to their investigation. The 2 characters that I would put into this crossover is only Shiori and Suga. No one else, even though along the story, there was a police officer entangled in the whole story altogether. In the crossover, I personally see Shiori would be represented by Vera Nair or Emma Woods, and Suga, the mysterious guy in the village, to be played by Victor Grants, given that both is unwilling to speak much, with another options being Eli Clark. Pocket Mirror is a horror game that's all about self-discovery and identity, wrapped in a creepy and unsettling atmosphere. Instead of relying on jump scares, the game builds psychological fear slowly, making you feel uneasy as you play. The story begins with you waking up in a strange world with no memory of who you are. As you explore, you meet odd characters who give you clues about your past. But nothing is simple. Reality keeps shifting, and it's hard to know who or what to trust. The horror comes from the uncertainty, leaving you feeling lost and vulnerable in a world that never gives clear answers. The main character is Goldia, a girl with very long brown hair who suffers from amnesia. Her goal is to figure out who she is with the help of a mysterious pocket mirror. Throughout the game, she comes across as very kind, which makes me think she could be represented by Anne Lester. Their stories are also similar, as both lost their mothers at a young age and struggle with psychological issues. Then there's Fleta, whose personality and appearance are a lot like the little girl. As for Egliette, I'm not sure which character would match her, but I think she'd work well as an pet or an accessory rather than a full character. Out of all the games I've mentioned in this video, Ao Oni might be the one that best fits the hunter role in Identity V. That's because the game features a terrifying blue monster, which could make for an amazing hunter skin. The story follows a group of friends, Hiroshi, Takeshi, Mika, and Takuro, who get trapped in a haunted mansion. They enter the mansion out of curiosity, or maybe as a dare, since there are rumors it's haunted. But soon after they arrive, they encounter the Ao Oni, a huge, creepy blue monster that starts chasing them relentlessly. In my opinion, the main protagonist, Hiroshi, could be represented by Eli Clark, since both characters wear glasses. The IDV devs has done something similar with Watanuki, so they could easily make Hiroshi an Eli skin. As for the other characters, Takeshi could be played by Ganji, Mika could be Martha, and Takuro could be Orpheus. But the most exciting part of this crossover would be the Blue Demon. There's no clear backstory for why the monster exists, but based on its appearance, it could work as a skin for almost any hunter. Bane, Leo Beck, or even Bon Bon would all be great fits for the Ao Oni. It's a perfect opportunity to bring something truly terrifying to Identity V. Not many people know about this game, but I think Blank Dream could make a great crossover with Identity V. Blank Dream explores the unsettling depths of a broken mind and the struggle to find a lost identity. The story starts with a young woman, Mishiro Usui, waking up in a strange, dreamlike world with no memory of who she is. The game's story is intentionally confusing and non-linear, reflecting the main character's shattered mental state. As you play, you piece together her past by exploring surreal environments, meeting strange and creepy characters, and finding hidden clues and messages. The world itself feels like a reflection of her subconscious, a distorted place where reality and imagination mix together. The main character, Mishiro Usui, would be a great fit for Ada Mesmer, especially because of how they look. Her male counterpart, Ayato Hinohara, could be played by Emil. Another character, Yuzu Hanasaki, could be represented by Emma, since their personalities are similar. Even though I think this crossover would be amazing, the game's dark themes make me wonder if it could actually happen. Still, it's fun to imagine how it could work. There are so many RPG Maker horror games out there, and I could talk about them for hours. But since there are so many, I've just picked the ones I think would work best for a crossover with Identity V. Keep in mind, this list is based on my personal opinion, so if you have different ideas, feel free to share them. My knowledge of RPG Maker horror games isn't perfect, so I'd love to hear your thoughts too. Thanks for watching. This is your host, Silmina, signing off.